Before we start, I have one singular question for you. Should we pay for our mods? Now hold it, don't answer me just yet. Keep that question in the back of your mind throughout the video, because I will be coming back to it time and time again. Because as some of you might have noticed, it's becoming a trend where fellow creators are taking mods or making mods themselves, hiring talented developers, and then showcase these beautiful and stunning creations to then lock them behind a Patreon or some other price tag, with the explanation being that, hey, we had to pay this guy to develop it, and technically they aren't selling the mod because it's a reward for paying them. And after seeing another colleague of mine doing the same thing recently, I thought to myself, okay, but is this legal?
No, it's not.
Many of you might remember the apocalyptical event that changed Minecraft forever and ruined the game for the 6th time that month. The 2023 EULA changes. People lost their minds over this document, spurred on by one of the greatest examples of Twitter bait I've ever seen. Now obviously nothing happened when this dropped, but I did clear up a few misconceptions, specifically around paid servers. 2B2T's famous fastpass, for example, which was used to skip the large line at the time, is now illegal according to the EULA. And yeah, it's kind of odd, like why would Mojang care? Well, essentially they just want to make sure that everybody is on the same playing field when it comes to financials. There is also another good reason why a company would suddenly flesh out their EULA, as it actually protects their brand from bad actors, gives them grounds to act upon legally, and most importantly, it protects them from anyone using their brands for bad things. Looking at you, NFTs. Anyways, the EULA isn't always a bad thing for users either, as if you take the time to read this document, it can actually help you figure out what Mojang is going to be upset about with your project at first glance. For server owners, reading this document is a must either way, because you need to accept the EULA on first boot up, because we all read the terms and conditions, right guys? Either way, why am I talking about this? Well, it's good background to have when you know that there is an important part in the EULA that specifically targets modifications. Quote, any mods you create for Minecraft from scratch belong to you, as long as you don't sell them for money / try to make money from them. That's pretty clear language, right? But does that mean mod developers can't make money in general? Well, what about donations, right? Or having a button in the UI that links to the creator's Patreon or Ko-fi? Well, again, the question, should we be paying for mods in any way? The question seems to be no for Mojang, right? Well, don't be so quick, my friend. Obviously, the people who make these amazing mods should be compensated if they want to be compensated, right? Before you give me your opinion, you haven't even had the time to subscribe yet. So before commenting your answer, why don't you do that real quick? It wasn't a question, buddy. If there's one thing that I've learned from living on my own, it's that money is much more important than my 16-year-old thought it was. So if you're going to spend hours on something thousands or even millions of people are potentially going to enjoy, it would be nice that you could be compensated for that time and effort spent, right? Some people just think the respect is enough, but other people want to make money off this. It's important to remember it's not a requirement by most mod developers. So how does a mod developer get compensated for that work? Usually a developer would upload their mod to a mod repository like CurseForge or Modrinth. In return, these platforms usually share a percentage of their ad revenue back to the developer, much like YouTube. With the only difference between those two is that CurseForge usually offers a better ad rev compared to Modrinth, as they have been around for longer, thus have better deals with most companies. I mean, good, because you can't pay me to use their UI either way. So mod developers get compensated for the work. Great, problem solved. Well, for many, this is only usually a few dollars, and sadly, passion isn't edible. So many developers end up quitting their projects because the amount of time involved in making these mods is not worth the amount of time they could be working a 9 to 5 in an actual job. But for some, that's not an option. Maybe they don't want to give up on their work and they choose one of 3 options. Open a donation page, make a version of the mod that is paid, that has extra features than the free one, and as is becoming the norm on YouTube, hide them behind a paywall like Patreon or Ko-fi. Let's break them down individually, keeping in mind the EULA we talked about earlier, and remembering the original question I asked you before. Should we be paying for Minecraft mods?
Shut up and take my money!
Donations, pretty straightforward. You give a person money because you like their work, or you just think they're a really cool person, and in the context of the EULA, this isn't a transaction for the mod. Rather, you decide to donate money to a developer in the hopes that it helps continue their work, while the mod itself is still free to download for anyone, regardless if they're a donator or not. There's some mods do add a button that leads you straight to the donation page for the mod, and I personally understand why you do this, but I don't know if Mojang likes the idea of buttons leading to some random Ko-fi and Patreon pages, leading to little Timmy emptying their mom's credit card. Now, the free version, paid version model is where a mod developer offers a base version of their mod for free, with a paid version available on their website or again on their Patreon, and this is a very popular choice and is somewhat of a gray zone. In the world of Bucket, this has been a thing for years, with no free version even being available, and some sources at Modern say that Mojang wouldn't really intervene if the mod is server-side only, though in context of the current EULA, this is still a no-go. The free version is not in violation, while the plus version, so to speak, is. And we know that Mojang doesn't really approve of this model, as the physics mods by Hauba had a so-called pro version that was only available if you supported them on Patreon. Well, on the 24th of 2023, Hauba decides to make the pro version available for everyone, as Mojang themselves actually stepped in and asked them to kindly stop that. Yet at the same time, mods like Axiom still have a server-side only version that is paid on a commercial license, and Mojang hasn't stepped in yet. So I'm asking, what do you want, Mojang? Either way, we arrive at the last trend: a paywall. This by far is the biggest no-no to my community. When I asked them the question if it was okay to paywall mods, my community very clearly didn't think so. And we will come back to that in a second. But it's not only my community. The wider mod community doesn't like these mods being paywalled. And I don't think I need to tell you that this isn't really okay in terms of EULA compliance. And no, hiding them behind "I'm technically not selling the mod as it's a reward for supporting me" isn't going to work. If you make a video about a mod, get people excited, and then just go, "All you need to do is buy my Patreon," it's essentially a sales pitch, because the transaction is still, you give me money, I give you the mod. But with this all being said, again, I ask you, should we pay for Minecraft mods? In that poll I showed you earlier, the overwhelming sentiment was that paywalls are bad, but that mod developers obviously should be able to make money if they choose so, because making mods is a lot of work. And looking at mod devs now, if I had a nickel for every time a mod developer of a mod that we all love so much goes homeless, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but in a field as big as Minecraft, it's really weird that it happened twice. And when I say pay for mods, I'm not only talking about access to these mods. Optifine, quite famously, allows you to donate for a cape, or a worse example, Essential Mod, an otherwise very good mod, has a cosmetic store for some reason. Now obviously I don't support paywalling mods in general. I mean, the legality alone must be a nightmare. But I do think that people who spend hours or years developing mods that we take for granted should be compensated if they desire to be so. So I've been kind of thinking about this, and my question to you is, why don't we implement a pay what you want system? Itch.io already has this, where you can literally just pay whatever you want. If you think the software isn't worth your money, that's fine, you can still download it for free, but if you think it's great, then just chuck them $5 for the download. Now obviously you'd have to clarify that this technically is a donation to the creator rather than a purchase, but it would make it a tad more easier for developers to make their passion into a livelihood. And I don't think I can fault anyone doing that. Hell, that's what I'm doing at this very moment. So to answer the question I asked you earlier, should we pay for Minecraft mods? No. But throwing a couple bucks at the developers wouldn't hurt. But I would like to know what you think in the comments down below. Either way, I was Lunar, you were very awesome, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you to all the YouTube Pebbles and the Patreon supporters. If you didn't know, we have bloopers that are on the screen right now, and we have full-length interviews with people I interview. For example, the creator of IC2, the person behind Vintage Story, that kind of stuff. That's all on the Patreon, and I couldn't make these videos without you. Also, in terms of this video, I would like to clarify, I am not a lawyer. I do not know anything about licenses and that kind of jazz. I do know some stuff about open source licensing for Respouted, but that's it. This is just an opinion piece. But if you have some comments, if you have some corrections, feel free to message me about it. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.